Okay, as requested, a quick studio and gear tour of what I used to get Van Halen sound on the Live Without a Net recording. Let's start with the Big Daddy, the Suhr SL68. This is the version 1. There is a brand new version 2 that's just come out, the Mac 2, and has a couple extra goodies. So if you don't already have one of these, buy the Mac 2. It's got a 3-way bright cap switch, different master volume on the back, post-phase inverter, of course, and a fat switch on the mid control. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that what it does is it changes the value up to 500K, the same as what Ed had in his Plexi. But if you've already got this one, I'm sure you'll agree, hopefully you'll agree, that it sounds great. I have this running in low voltage mode, so that John has put in an internal Variac and rebiased the amp internally to match that. Although I was a little sneaky, and I am using a bit more Variac on the way in, so it's about 3/4 wall voltage going in. I just felt like it needed to be extra spongy and crashy from some of the phrases I heard in Live Without a Net. Into the front end of the amp, I've got the amazing Friedman Buxom Boost pedal, which is clean, transparent, doesn't impart too much character. It's whatever the Plexi sounds like, it'll sound like with this boost, but I'm just boosting a little mids up to midday. No mids would be fully counterclockwise. The treble looks like it's boosted, but it's not. It's a cut to the left and a boost to the right. So at midday, that's unity. And the boost control, which is volume, unity seems to be about 9 AM. I've got it set about 10 AM, so it's pretty gentle. Tiny bit of volume, little bit of mids, and that's it. Straight into the Plexi. Then I'm running into the Boss TAE tube amp expander, and that's simply so I didn't get kicked out of my house while I've been working on this. So I've been using its internal cab sim. If anyone wants any of those details or settings or whatever, just, write in the comments or something, and of course I'll let you know. But I'm using the FOH front of house cab, which to me, bizarrely, sounds closer to my real Marshall loaded Greenback cab than anything else in there. So for the audio that you're hearing, though, the recording, I didn't use the cab sim. I actually did run into my box, but I was still running through the Boss TAE. So just to knock off a bit of volume again, so I don't get kicked out. Into my early 90s Marshall cab loaded with Greenbacks that I've used forever. A single 57, no other room mics, and no EQ in post or in Pro Tools. It's where that mic is placed is the tone you're hearing off the speaker. I know you can't tell because of the grill cloth, but the best way to think about it would be the right-hand side of this mic would be touching up against the left-hand side of the dust cap on the Greenback. So like two circles kind of just touching each other. That's the easiest way to explain where that's positioned. Felt like that had the right amount of tops without being too harsh, and a good amount of that Eddie Van Halen mid-range around the 1K, 1.5K kind of area, which is super important. If you don't have that, you lose some of that Eddie Van Halen sponge, and as we know, all great guitar sounds are made up of mid-range. So yeah, that was the spot that I settled on so that I didn't have to use any EQ. What else we got? Let's see, for delays, the Boss SDE-3000 EVH pedal. Unbelievable pedal. If you're an EVH fan and you don't have this, you should definitely get it. And shout out to Dave Friedman and Pete Thorne, who I believe had a hand in modeling Edwards' very own Roland SDE-3000 units for the settings in this. As you can see, I have this just set on preset 1, EVH 1. Sounded right to me, about 300 milliseconds on the left, or whichever side, 600 milliseconds on the other. And to the delays that I could hear when Eddie suddenly stopped in Live Without a Net solo, that sounded right to me. But it is pretty drenched in stadium reverb. If you want to hear this thing just on its own, please do check out my bespoke video just on this Boss SDE-3000 pedal on my channel. And you will hear it with no reverb, just the first 3 minutes of Live Without a Net with just this pedal. And I think you'll agree it sounds great even without the reverb. But I did use reverb because I wanted to get as close to the sound of the recording, the live show, as possible. 2 generic Pro Tools reverbs because I didn't want to get tricky. A deverb because, as a famous R&B producer once said, a little deverb never hurt no one. It's set on a large plate with about a 2-second decay and knocking off some tops down to about 8K. Air reverb, another generic Pro Tools reverb, set on stadium, knocking off high frequencies down to about 2K, so it was nice and rich and mid-rangey. A little bit of micro shift. I wasn't sure at first whether they would have used an Eventide H3000 in post to widen his guitar a bit, but if you listen to the intro where he's playing the Ballad 316, you can hear some chorusing, and it definitely isn't a completely dry guitar in the center of the speakers. So I used its default setting on mode 1, mix knob, almost dry, like it's just a touch, but I felt like it sounded right to me when I would A-B them back and forward. And the H delay here is, of course, for Cathedral. So it's a simple delay. Again, pretty much default settings set to 377 milliseconds. 1 delay, and the mix knob just slightly above 50%. And that's it. Well, we should talk about the guitar. Neil Daly built this for me from Daly Custom Designs. All links, of course, in the description of this video. He did an amazing job. My wish list was something that was a replica of Ed's 5150, his Live Without a Net 5150 guitar, and he did exactly that, as you can see. It has a 1984 Floyd on it, EVH low friction 500K pot, and the pickup is a Bareknuckle Rebel Yell. Fantastic pickup. Tim built that for Steve Stevens, and it's very, very much, to my ears, the kind of thing that Ed would have used around that mid-80s era, which is it's got plenty of punch, not too much output. I think, if I'm correct, the winds are slightly offset, which means that you get this great clarity between the strings, even though it's running into an amp that's essentially crapping itself. Yeah. Really amazing guitar, complete with cigarette burns and the whole thing. Oh, the little man Neil didn't do, that's the mascot of my guitar tech here in Melbourne, Australia, Joe Occhipinti at Guitar House. Shout out to Joe. Thank you for keeping my girls playing so lovely. What else? Strings I always use on all my guitars, D'Addario NYXLs. I love those strings so much. They almost never break, and they keep their tone for a real long time. While we're on little things, cables I use D'Addario as well, and they're great. Never had any problems with those. Sound great, last. And if you're curious, that's what my computer screen looks like. And the only way that I could learn how to anticipate all of Ed's rhythmic inflections and natural timing changes, so the color coding is essentially what I consider the different ideas or the different structure or sections, if you like, of his solo. And all those black lines are clicks, thousands and thousands of little clicks where I tempo mapped it. And then up the top there is my meter map, changing meters all the time, Ed does, and his tempos. And that's it.